let's move into our topic of the week, which is big goals. And I am going to share my thoughts. I want to start with a caveat that I am sharing my thoughts. And this actually really, the topic for the week lined up really well in general with something else I'm going to talk about, um, which is ironic because I picked this topic weeks and in December, actually. I think I mentioned this before. I know I mentioned it in a vlog during Vlogmas. I actually work with a content coach, a marketing coach who helps me pick content. And we have a quarterly call that we map out all my content for the quarter. And so the topics for the lives for Q1 are all mapped out. And so we had picked this topic back in December to be for this week. And so I would not consider myself a expert on big goals. And when I say big goals, I mean like multi-year goals. Does that mean I haven't achieved multi-year goals? No, because I absolutely have. But I don't necessarily teach on it because I feel like there is so much unknown that if you are constantly focused on like 3, 5, 10, 20-year goals, it can be really easy to lose sight of what's important to you right now. And the other big reason is I would rather encourage you to focus on shorter, like short term. Big, when I say big, I guess in this definition, I mean like long-term goals that take multiple years. So I encourage people to focus more on shorter term goals because then you're able to see the progress faster. And if you're not seeing that progress, it's easy to lose your motivation and your momentum. So let me just start with that caveat. Okay. So first things first, you don't have to have them. You do not have to have big goals if you do not want to. You do not have to have goals that are going to take multiple years. Your goals do not have to be huge. You do not have to think about life 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. If you want to, awesome. And we're going to talk about some tips on breaking them down and to think about them. But I want to start with, you don't have to. And so if you are just setting goals on a shorter time frame that's in front of you, whether that's the next year, the next quarter, or just the next month, 1 month at a time, that is completely and totally fine. You do not have to have these big multi-year goals. Now, that said, hold on. I'll tell you all, my husband's calling me right now. He's not at home. And I'm like, every week at this time. That said, I know that there are some of you who do have 3, 5, 10-year goals. And so I want to let you know, first off, you can have an idea without a timeline. You can say someday in the future, I want to do X. And you don't have to know if that thing is going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know why those are the numbers I keep throwing out because I feel like those are the ones people talk about. 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, like 20-year goals. You can know that you want to do this at some point without having a timeline. And that's when I say that, like I have those as well. Like we'd like to buy a house at some point, but that timeline has so many factors that impact it. We don't have a set timeline for that. We would like to have another child. That also doesn't have a timeline right now. Right now, we're just enjoying our lives as a family of 3, right? That's 4 if you include Charlie. So you can have an idea of longer term goals that you want to achieve without knowing the exact date or year or time that you want to achieve that goal. The other piece of that is you then don't have to break the whole thing down. If you say, I want to do something at some point, you don't have to say, okay, step 1, I'm going to do that in 6 years. And then, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and work your way backwards every step until like right now. In fact, I probably would recommend that you don't, because it is likely going to change. I say this about your annual goals, that you don't need to have every step perfectly mapped out for the whole year. So that absolutely then applies to 3, 5, 10, 20-year goals. You do not have to know every single step. So what I would encourage you to do is if you do have a long-term dream or goal that you want to achieve, I would ask yourself, what can I do in the next month, quarter, or year to get myself closer to that big goal? That's the magic question. What can you do in a shorter time frame that you have actually more knowledge on what your life is going to look like that will get you closer to that, right? So back to our example of buying a house. I almost restarted that sentence as if this wasn't alive. because I'm still getting used to filming these types of videos live style as opposed to like normally these types of videos I would sit down and film and then get them edited. Anyways, so going back to the house example, right? We don't know what that time frame looks like. So what we can do right now in the next month and quarter, which is the goal for us, is to focus on our finances and focus on our savings and know that we're saving that money in a more short-term location so that if the timing gets right that we want to buy a house, we have those funds available, right? That's specific for us. If you're talking about the wanting to start a family, right? What are the things you could do in the next month, quarter, year? Maybe it's related to your job. Maybe it's related to your living situation. Maybe it's also related to finances, right? What are the things that you can do right now to help you prepare for that long-term goal without having to be like, okay, this year I'm going to do this and next year I'm going to do this. Like, you don't need all of those things. You need, what are you going to focus on right now that's going to help you get closer, not to the finish line, but closer to that goal. The other thing I want to talk about related to this goal is that you are always allowed to change your mind. You can change your mind at any time. It's your life. You get to live it. So give yourself permission to change your goals as you grow and change. You are not the same person 1 year later. So you might say, someday I want to write a book. And so in order to start preparing for that this year, I am going to work on journaling so I can get in the habit of writing. And then at the end of the year, you decide, no, I don't actually want to write a book anymore. It doesn't mean that all that time spent journaling was wasted. I'm sure you learned and developed some other skills from that habit or that action step, but you're allowed to change your mind because you change as a person all the time. So those are my thoughts on big goals, long-term goals.